That's a life changer. Fortunately, I discovered I had it when it was in the early stages, and that's when it's the most treatable. And that's why, when they asked me to be the spokesperson for that, I said, yeah, let's do it, because I know if most men are like me, they're not thinking about it. And by the time they go, it might be too late. So I joined their campaign to try and educate men and women, as it turns out, to know more about this disease, so that guys will make better decisions when it comes to it.
And women?
Well, yeah. What I realize, it's really tough sometimes to get a guy to go to the doctor, but his mom or his wife or his daughter might be a little bit more successful at getting that done than I was. And so, in the beginning, I was recruiting men, in particular, other survivors like myself. But I realized that it'd be much easier if I tried to recruit women to help me with this fight. So
most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Hey folks, welcome back to this episode of Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness with Chris Doris. And as a reminder, the reason that I started doing this series is because I wanted to share with you a diverse perspective, a broad perspective of interpretations of what mental toughness means. Mental toughness is not something that we've had much education on. Most of us have had none. There was no class in grade school. There was no class in high school. There was no class I didn't have a class in college. I even went to graduate school in psychology and never had one course on how to strengthen the way that you use your mind, which is a great way of defining mental toughness. So what I've decided to do is to interview a really vast array of badasses, right? From all these different disciplines. I mean, we've had holistic healers, we've had coaches and authors and speakers, we've had nutritionists and trainers, we've had badass sales heroes, people in the sales industry, we've had CEOs, we have even had a college student ultra marathoner who just recently completed a 206-mile race around Lake Tahoe in 3 days. Who does that? And we've had futurists and world-renowned golf instructors, and now I am so happy to be able to say to you, we're adding to that list. I just keep delivering, folks. Okay, all right, because you know who we got now? Let me tell you who we got today. We got a guy who is a National Football League Hall of Famer. You heard it. That's how we roll here at Tough Talks. An NFL Hall of Famer, come on. I did a little math on this. Now, don't hold me to like this super specifics, but this is ballpark stuff, and that's good enough to be insanely impressive. Over the history of the NFL, which arguably started in 1920, not by the same name, but whatever, there have been about 400,000 players, right, playing since 1920. There's been about 400,000 NFL players all day, total. Of them, only to date, 318 of them have been inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. We got one. Yeah. 318 out of 400,000. You know what that is? That's 0.08% of a percent. How good is that? Now, this guy, he's not just an NFL Hall of Famer. He's also a cancer survivor. Right? We're going to talk about that and the importance of how he survived and his advice for men and getting checked. He's a change agent. He's a visionary entrepreneur. He's committed to making a damn difference in the world. He's a husband and father. See if you can guess who he is. Football fans, see if you can guess who he is here. He played for the Pats, the New England Patriots from 1976 to 1982. Then he played for the Raiders from 1983 to 1989. He was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1997. He was a Super Bowl champion. He had an interception, and that's not that great. He had an interception in a Super Bowl in the 1984 Super Bowl when he was playing with the Raiders. He became the vice. This guy's incredible. He became the vice president of player development for the National Football League in 2002. He was there for 7 years, which is when we met. And he's also got it. We're going to make you tell this story. The story about it's a great track and field story when he was in high school. So, with no further ado, folks, I am very proud to introduce to you my longtime friend and superhero, Mike Haynes. And here he is, Mike Haynes. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. Good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you making time for this.
Well, we've been trying to get this done for a long time, so.
True story. True story. So I really appreciate you making time for it, man. I know how busy you are, and we're about to hear a little bit about that. But before we do, I wanted to share the story of how you and I initially connected, because I think it's pretty cool. I don't even know if you remember.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think you're going to have to tell the story.
Yeah, okay. So here's the deal. In fact, I can even tell you exactly when it was. You started with, as I mentioned in the introduction, you started in 2002 with the NFL's VP of Player and Employee Development, right? 2002. Right. So that's when we met. So we met 16 years ago.
Okay.
And that's when we first spoke. Okay.
Yeah.
I was at the time I was working exclusively with athletes, and I was doing a lot of work at ASU. I was working with the men's golf team, right, on the mental game.
Yep.
I had just also been hired by Dirk Cutter, who was the head coach at the time. I remember Mark Helfrich was the head, quarterback's coach. So I'd been hired by him, and now he, of course, is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And doing great in the NFL.
And doing great.
Yeah.
A little better than I hoped, actually. I love Dirk, but he beat our team.
Yeah.
So there was a newspaper article that came out just as you were hired by the NFL, right, for player development, which, by the way, if people don't know what that means, it's at least in part, it has that role, at least in part, has to do with helping players, well, obviously develop, meaning develop as humans, not just as athletes. Right.
Right. More off the field development. And
right.
The whole program is designed to help the players transition from college to pro. It's a different deal,
Right.
A lot of different challenges on your time, financial challenges, family challenges, future challenges. Like, what am I going to do? So we have a whole group of really talented people working at all the NFL teams, trying to help these guys make better decisions when they're coming into the league and preparing for life outside the league, because the average career of the NFL player is not really very long.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that obviously requires enormous amounts of mental toughness, which is why it's very relevant to what we're discussing, which is how we met. So back to the story, I saw the article and I thought, well, here's a fellow Sun Devil, right?
Yep. Yeah.
You're a superstar at ASU as well. And I loved what you were up to. I had spent some time trying to connect with the Eagles, right, and see what they got going on. I think at the time it was Howard Carmichael was their guy for player development. And they weren't really looking, I don't think many teams at that time, 16 years ago, were really looking outside for anybody to contribute with that. I think they mostly wanted former players. And
well, I don't know if that's true.
No.
But I understand what you're saying, because when I took the position, there were a lot of former players in that role, but they weren't really educated to be experts in that role. So when I got the job, I actually realized that I wasn't an expert. And so I had to bring in experts for my team. And I think that helped them in doing what they were doing at their clubs. And, over time, all of the teams have started using outside support. To try and help them do a better job.
Yeah. So I was reading the article and I thought, I'm going to give this guy a call. So I got the number I got your number, called the offices and asked for you, got your voicemail and left one. And this is not an exaggeration. Within the hour, you called me back. You didn't know who I was. You didn't know me from Adam. I just, left a message saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm up to. This is what I'm interested in, and helping players, not just on the field, but off the field, because my role as a mental coach is to help people have their lives in their terms, not just their games. Right. And you responded within the hour, which was amazing to me, and then we started the conversation. Next thing you know, I was on a plane and flew out to 345 Park Ave. And we had a meeting there, and that was the beginning of a conversation that's been going on between us for 16 years now.
Many years, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what it was is I figured that you would have a lot of information that very few people would have. And I could have a conversation with you because of your background working with athletes, might be able to help me and my team develop better programs for players. So that was the reason. It's like, I always believe that there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's happening now has been happening or happened before. And so I figured that you might be able to help me see something that I haven't been able to see very clearly. And that was the reason I was excited to talk to you.
And I love that about you. That's one of the reasons I dig you, is because, you're a superstar. You're an NFL Hall of Famer. And like, you could easily have a chip on your shoulder. But my experience of you is that you have always been interested, first of all, always been interested in serving people. Right, always been interested in helping other humans out, but also always interested in your own, like humble enough to always, what you just said basically, right, is to be open to growth, right? Which, by the way, open to growth is one definition of discipline, because the word discipline comes from disciple, which is openness to growth, which is pretty cool. So that's mental toughness right there. Part of mental toughness is knowing that there's no ceiling on our opportunity to grow. So I totally appreciate that about you. So you are a busy guy. It has been a while since we have created this opportunity. We've been trying to create this opportunity for a minute. Yeah. So tell us, what are you up to these days?
Well, in a lot of ways, I'm trying to do the same kind of thing. But, it's a little bit different. When I was at the NFL, had a guaranteed office, a guaranteed check coming in, all those kinds of things. So I actually left the league office in my role as a vice president about 10 years ago. And since then, I've been doing a lot of different things in community. I live in San Diego, so doing some programs with different foundations. Also doing some work as a consultant with a lot of companies that are trying to do business with the NFL or with athletes or something like that. And because I'm a cancer survivor, I focus a lot of my time in the health and wellness area. So that's really it. Without being specific, that's kind of what I've been doing. I also have I have 3 older kids and 3 grandkids by those 3 kids, but I also have 3 younger kids that are, one in college, just a sophomore in college at Boston College, and 2 more in high school. One's a senior and one's a freshman. So, being a father, trying to be a good father and good husband, that's not an easy duty either. But trying to do all those things and do them at a high level is very challenging at times, but I find a way to get it done.
That's a lot, man. Yeah, you had a field hockey game to attend last night.
Yeah, and my daughter's team won 3-0. That was good.
That's beautiful. Right on.
against the Sun Devils, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, they're playing a local team here, Mount Carmel, and they are the Sun Devils.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I remember seeing you were doing commercials for prostate cancer when you were battling it, or I guess shortly after you had defeated it, right? I mean, that require any mental toughness, huh? So,
well, that's a life changer. Fortunately, I discovered I had it when it was in the early stages, and that's when it's the most treatable. And that's why, when they asked me to be the spokesperson for that, I said, yeah, let's do it, because I know if most men are like me, they're not thinking about it. And by the time they go, it might be too late. So I joined their campaign to try and educate men and women, as it turns out, to know more about this disease, so that guys will make better decisions when it comes to it.
And women?
Well, yeah. What I realize, it's really tough sometimes to get a guy to go to the doctor, but his mom or his wife or his daughter might be a little bit more successful at getting that done than I was. And so, in the beginning, I was recruiting men, in particular, other survivors like myself. But I realized that it'd be much easier if I tried to recruit women to help me with this fight. So, as everybody knows something about breast cancer, and that's because it's a woman's disease, and they really are they've done a fantastic job of getting the message out. When it comes to prostate, cancer, most men don't even know where the prostate is or what the prostate does. So it was a huge uphill battle. But with their help, I think we got a lot done. And most of my team working at the AUA's headquarters were women, and they were focused on helping me getting the word out. And I think we did a real good job. But that's kind of come to an end for me now that my agreement with them ended at the end of September. So I don't know. I still want to get out and do the exact same thing. So I'm trying to find another partner to help me get that message out, because I think we can save a lot of guys' lives.
Right on. So along those lines, a little piece of advice for you, and I'm asking you for myself. I just turned 50. When should dudes start getting checked?
Well, if it runs in your family, you might want to start in your 40s. But if it doesn't, you can wait until your mid 50s. Most guys don't know if it runs in their family. I didn't know if it ran in my family. And I found out when I was 55, and I found out by luck. So we don't want men to find out by luck. We want them to be educated, proactive, and knowing what some of the things to be looking out for are. And the best thing a guy can do is really just talk to their general care practitioner and say, hey, I'm kind of concerned about prostate cancer. Am I doing the right thing? Should I start doing blood tests now with you, or do you need to do a digital rectal exam? What I've learned about a lot of things really is you have to take control. Most of these guys, like myself, they think the doctor is in control. I just go take my annual physical and leave. But you need to be actively involved in asking questions like, hey doc, I'm not sure if it runs in my family. Are we taking some precautions here? Are we doing this, that? Take some control of your health situation with your doctor. Don't just let him be the do the whole thing, because in the end, if he doesn't do it, you can't say, oh, I've been going to the doctor every year and he never said anything. There's no legal recourse there. So
Right.
You have to be the person that is actively involved as well as your doctor.
Wow, man. Well, I really appreciate that. I didn't know that we were going to go there. I'm glad we did, because that's really relevant to me right now. I'm adopted. I don't know if it runs in my family, so I might need to go get on that right now. So I thank you. That's good stuff. You're speaking right at me. So, one of the reasons that I do this Tough Talks series is because it's really important to me, Mike, to spread the word of the value, the importance of strengthening the way that you use your mind, because our minds govern the way our lives unfold. And almost none of us have had any formal training or even education at any level, right, on the specifics of how to do that, or that's even a possibility, that the brain is something that you can even invest in strengthening in the first place. Most people don't even know that, right? So it's important to me. I've committed my life to that. And this is a way. This is one of the methodologies that I use in order to spread that word. But the people that follow my blogs and my stuff, my content, they hear from me all the time, and my impression, right, of what mental toughness is. And part of what I want to bring to folks is a bit of a diversity of perspective, right, on what mental toughness means, because I think a lot of people relate to other people's messages on mental toughness, right? So I'm interested in hearing from you. What does the term mental toughness, what does that even mean to you?
Well, I think it really has come to mean a lot of different things, but most importantly is having a plan, like having a plan of action, something that you really want to do. Like you said, you want to help people, and the plan doesn't necessarily have to start off as being specific. Just, I want to help people. You could help them a million different ways. But then you start to look deeper into it and start to make different decisions that are related to, is this on the path, excuse me, of helping people? Am I on track? And you just keep adding to your knowledge and to your experience and using that to help people. So for me as a football player, I said, I want to be the best defensive back ever to have played the game. Now, at the time, I didn't even know all the defensive backs that had played the game. I didn't know who they were or what I was saying. Like, how would I define in the end? How would I define that I was the best player to ever play in the game? But I didn't know. So did I need to get stronger? I didn't know. And so as I started to experience, going on practice field and playing in games, my success or failure, and how it lined up with my goal. And then I just kept changing and adding to what I was learning or doing to where in the end, I felt like I'm on track and I'm doing what I can. I'm controlling what I do to make sure that I get to this end that I really want to get to.
Hmm.
And it wasn't super specific, but after a while, things start to get specific, like my time, like how many hours do I need to be in the weight room? How many hours do I need to be on the track? What kind of workouts do I need to have? What kind of coaching do I need to get? What is it that I don't need to know, or I need to know? All these different things, and all those things helped me prepare for football, and even how to deal with injuries and how to deal with recovering, all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the toughest part for me has been taking all of that information, all that I have learned, and using that in other parts of my life. Because I say if I've had the success here in this area, I should be able to have the success in other areas. So I actually turned out to be a very good student when it came to football. In the classroom, I might not have been a great student, but when I started realizing that they're kind of related, my effort in the classroom was very poor, and my effort on the football field and in practice was excellent. Well, how do I get a little bit excellent at my effort in the classroom? What do I need to do? If I just add 5 minutes a day or 15 or 20 minutes a day, is that going to be enough? Well, that was a start. And I think I started learning that the things that I learned in football, in the mental toughness areas where I learned to be mentally tough, I could do it in other areas. And sometimes it's harder for me to see, what needs to be done in other areas, but I know that it's doable, and which allows me to have some excitement about moving on.
That's amazing. What a response. So could you talk a little bit about, that's actually quite a perfect segue also to the next follow-up question that I had, which is, so you talked a lot about, how mental toughness has played a role for you on the field in terms of being disciplined, in terms of being calculated, right? In terms of thinking about, and this is really huge, thinking about being clear rather on doing what it takes. Like, what will it take? Actually, behind that or before that, it's like you said, you didn't want to be good. You didn't even say you wanted to be great. You said you wanted to be the best. A lot of people are afraid of not just putting it out there, but even putting it in there, of going there for themselves. They're afraid of that, right? So one of the things that I'm interested in is because, like, you're a Hall of Famer. We've established that. That is an unbelievably rare achievement, right? So that would make it really easy for some listeners or viewers, because this is both a video blog as well as a podcast, to pedestal you, to say, oh well, mental toughness is easy for him.
Yeah.
How would you respond to that?
I think I'd have to say that it's easy to say for me, maybe, but it's not easy to do for me.
That's very interesting.
I was a good athlete, in a lot of ways. I still think I'm a good athlete. I think that had I made the same decision in the classroom, like I said, I want to be number one in my graduating class when I graduate high school. I want to be the best senior that has ever come out of Marshall High School. I never said that, but I'm sure that there are kids that do say it, because their parents are educated. They're around educated people, and they feel like, I have this in me. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be number one in my class. And I wish I had. My parents did not. They only cared that I graduated from high school. That was it. I just can't wait till you graduate from high school. That's it. If I had a report card full of all C's, they wouldn't have said anything. Now my kids have a report card of all C's. We say, you're not trying. You're not working harder. Do you need us to get you tutors? We put an emphasis on their education. And my parents really didn't. And so when it came to sports, no one put an emphasis there except me. That was me guiding Mike. And I wish that I had somebody in my life that was encouraging me to do the exact same thing in my education. It all worked out fine. But
I was going to say, why do you wish that?
Yeah, well, it all worked out fine. But when I graduated from high school, I didn't even know what my grade point average was. I played an all-star football game, and all these schools were talking, hey, where are you going to go to college? Wanting to know. I was really ignorant, man. I had no idea what my grade point average was. I didn't know if I was in the upper half of my graduating class. I hadn't taken the SAT or ACT test because my goal was to graduate high school. That's what my parents set as a goal.
How old were you when you decided, or I don't know if you decided, how old were you when you decided that you wanted to be an NFL player?
I was probably in my second year of college, second year of college.
Really? So in high school, you didn't fantasize. Well, of course you fantasized, but you didn't say, you know what? I think I got what it takes. I want to do this.
No, I never said it.
No.
Are you kidding? Growing up in Los Angeles, man,
Hmm.
it's like the mecca of athletes. There's so
Hmm.
many great athletes there that
Hmm.
in our area, I might have been the best athlete, but in the city of LA, I never was the best athlete. I didn't win anything where I was a top athlete. The first time I played in something that made me a top athlete was that All-Star game when we upset the Southern section. Our section upset them in an All-Star game. That was it. So I never really felt that. I never felt I was a great athlete. I never thought I was a great student. But when I went to Arizona State, I ended up starting as a freshman. But there's a year out of high school. I ended up sitting out an entire year because I hadn't taken the SAT or the ACT test. And that hurt me from getting into college right away. I was going to go to a community college, and Arizona State said, "Hey, maybe you don't have to go to community college. Let's talk." And so I ended up not going to community college that year, and thought I'd start college in the spring, but that didn't happen either. So ended up missing an entire year. So when I started college as a freshman, I was 19 instead of 18,
Hmm.
and I felt a little bit older. But I started as a freshman, and I think that I started the last 3 games as a freshman. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like, oh, such an athlete.
You're exaggerating.
Yeah. The last 3 games as a freshman, because they were so talented, a lot of talented athletes. But even starting there as a freshman, I didn't think that I was going to, a pro quality type of athlete. But when a lot of those guys that I played with went on to the pros, then I started thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. If he can do it, I can do it. So that's when things started to change for me. And I started to set a goal at being the best football player I could be in college and hopefully make it to the NFL.
That is so fascinating to me. So I have a question on that, which is, you were really good in high school.
Yeah.
You were a great player?
Well, what I know now, Chris, is I did not have great coaching in high school. Okay. My senior year, we didn't win a game in football. We were 0-7, 0-7-1, and we only had 2 coaches. We had 1 coach for offense and 1 coach for defense. It was pretty much an academic school. We weren't really a sports school at all. And I didn't know that my coaches were horrible. I didn't know.
You were good enough to get into ASU. Okay. That's a top-notch D1 school.
Yeah.
You don't get there as a scrub.
Well,
here's my question. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Say what you're going to say there.
Well, I was going to say I got there because of that All-Star game. No one had seen me play until that All-Star game. And I was moved to defensive back maybe 2 or 3 days before the game. I asked the coach if I could move to the position.
Why?
Because there was a guy on our team that as a receiver, we were all beating the guy all the time. And I realized that I wasn't going to start. Even though I thought I was better than the other receiver, because he was all city, and his quarterback was our starting quarterback, they were a team. So when we started practicing as a team, he went in, not me. And so I said, "Hey, coach, can I move to this other position?" And he goes, "Yeah, go over there the rest of the week." So I went over there and practiced there, and we had a scrimmage. And during this scrimmage, it was just they put the ball on like the 6-yard line or something, and the defense held them out. Well, it wasn't because I got an interception or knocked a ball down. It was a running play that came my way. I came up and stuck the halfback, and then the linebackers and the other guys kind of helped me bring the guy down, and they didn't score. And the coach said, "You got the starting job." But when I got to college at Arizona State, that's when I started getting coached. That's when I started realizing what it takes to win. I had no idea what it took to win in high school.
Do you ever think, now as I listen to that story, there's something remarkably huge that you just brushed over, like very as a matter of factly, that I think is a massive takeaway from this conversation for listeners or the viewers. And it's that you initiated, you asked the coach.
Yeah.
you didn't wait. Just like you were talking about with prostate cancer, not waiting for the doctor to say, hey, you get checked yet? Like you were proactive there. Do you acknowledge that? Like, do you think back when you just like reflect back in your life and think of like pivotal moments? Do you consider that as one of those amazing? Because like if you hadn't asked, what might have been different?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I have thought of that. I have thought of it. And even like my entire high school experience. All right. So I asked and the coach let me do it.
Yeah.
And then in the All-Star game, I'm covering a guy who all the college scouts are there to see that I didn't,
This story's getting better by the second.
that I didn't even know about.
This is amazing, man. See, this what I'm talking about. Here's the magic right here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's slow this down. All right, because this is huge. Right? You had a desire. You thought something would be useful. You wanted something. All right, we'll simplify it to that. You wanted something, right? And you asked for it, which is a thing that most people don't do.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if you ever heard. This is Byron Katie. This is an amazing book, Loving What Is, right? Byron Katie, she's got a million quotes. One of my favorite quotes of hers is, anybody could have anything that they want if they're willing to ask 1,000 people for it.
Huh.
I wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't ask the golf coach at ASU, or if I didn't ask Dirk Cutter, to hire me. So asking for what you want is a huge element of mental toughness, is having the courage to ask for what you want. Doesn't guarantee, of course, that you're ever going to get it, but you guarantee that you won't by not.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So you asked, and as a consequence of like your coach agreeing, then that put in. Now, did you know in advance that first of all, you could never know that he was going to say yes to that? Did you know that you'd be covering an or like superstar who scouts were out to watch?
I didn't know anything about him. I knew that.
So that was not premeditated. And this is what's so beautiful about that is that, wow. So all these eyes are on you.
Right.
Because you're defending him. And how'd you do?
I did great. So he caught one pass for the entire game, a quick slant, and our free safety hit him hard. That was his only pass for the game. But at the end of the game, when they realized if they didn't score here, they were going to get upset. They start trying to throw the ball to him. And, I shut him out. And so at the end of the game, their last play was a ball up in the air high to him, because he was 6'1", figured he'd out jump me or something, come down with it somehow. And I came down with it.
Wow.
And because I wasn't a defensive back, I caught the ball in the end zone. I didn't even know what to do. I'm like thinking, oh my God, what if I get tackled here?
Yeah.
And so one of my teammates ran in front of me and said, Mike, just take a knee. It's over, man. We won. And I took a knee and we started celebrating, and it was fantastic. And that's when I was, surrounded by all these coaches, and I really felt kind of strange, to have that kind of attention, but not being able to answer any of their questions was kind of a bummer,
Oh, really? So this is, so I love this so much because I use a lot of mantras, and the one that you're reminding me of right now is inherent within your passions are the mechanics for success. Inherent, but if you just have the courage to ask or to move in the direction of, right, to move towards, that's another one.
Well, that's it. You have to have the courage to ask, and you have to have the courage to move in the direction.
Yeah.
That is maybe the most important thing, is moving in the right direction. And I wish I had that in every area of my life, but it is definitely something that I realize that people have to do it. If you really want it, you're going to have to do your part. You can't ask other people to do it for you.
You know what's so beautiful to me about that story? There's several things, but the one that's sticking out for me right now is like the magic, man, is the unpredictable, amazing things that occur as a consequence of you having demonstrated the courage to ask.
Yeah.
You couldn't have predicted all that stuff. I mean, seriously, like think back. You could make a movie. It's like a sliding doors kind of thing. Like how would your life have unfolded if you didn't, as a kid, as a high school kid, go up to your coach and say, Coach, is it cool if I go to D-back? If I give that, can I try that? Seriously, I have worked with so many hundreds and hundreds of, maybe thousands over the past 30 years of high school athletes. I'll tell you right now, and you know this is true, that most of them don't have the courage to go ask a coach what they want, to approach the coach and say, "Coach, this is what I'd love. So I'd love to
Yeah.
see happen."
I don't think they would view it as courage, like I can't view it as like I had the courage to do it. I just wanted to do it. It wasn't like I had to get myself, set myself up for this and had to be really tough to go do it. It was just like, I wanted to play. And I knew if I asked the coach, he would let me play. He'd give me a shot. I knew that he would. So because he was a coach from our area, our division, in high school. And so I ran track and everything. And my guess is that the kid that he said yes to, he knew that there was a good chance that I could beat that kid out, because I think that if he would have said no, that would have meant, obviously he didn't think I had what it took or what it takes. So we got to give the coach some credit. And one of the other things, though, Chris, is like we say everything happens for a reason. I wonder what happened to that kid that I beat out. That's when I think, like it was many, many years before I realized what you realized in a second, like, wow, are you aware of what you did? How all this stuff happened. Well, it was many years later when I was looking back. It might have been when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame, because I don't think I spent looking at a lot or thinking on a lot of my life. And there's not many things that happen in your life that make you look back. Like, so who do I owe credit to? How did I end up here? And so it might have been then when I started thinking back, like, yeah, wow. Yeah, I was the one, man, I'm in the Hall of Fame for that same position. It's crazy. And then I started thinking, wow, I wonder how it impacted that other kid's life. I never really have found out. I've been asking up in LA, but not really sure what happened. Hopefully, I mean, like if maybe an interview with him is like, yeah, I never really wanted to be that guy. I was glad that guy came over and took my position. I have no idea, but it'd be interesting to find out.
Sure. So of your your remarkably decorated career, Mike Haynes, what is it that you're most proud of?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Gosh, I think I'm most proud of the fact that I've been able to be in a position where I feel like I can make a difference. And so even with my kids, with my football career, with the NFL, working at the league office, I really feel blessed that I feel like I've been in a position where I can make a difference. And, really, I think that's probably it. As a kid, just like you said you always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to help people. Sometimes I wish I could say, I wish one of my things was I wanted to be a gazillionaire, because then maybe I would have been working to be a gazillionaire, and maybe I would have become a gazillionaire. But that wasn't really something that I really wanted to do. I just wanted to live a nice life and be able to help people. And then for the people who want to be gazillionaires, I'd love to be there to help them become gazillionaires, because, it's the same thing. We're talking about mental toughness. There's no real difference. It's just, that's a different goal than my goal.
Right on, man. Is there any place that you would like to, or anything that you'd like to tell the listeners about or direct them to? Is there anything that you're working on that you want to share with them or send them to check out? That's
a loaded question, really. Because
I don't mean it to be loaded. I just want, if there's anything that you got going on that you want people to know about.
Yeah, no, the only thing is that, like my sport, football, it's kind of evolving, and continues to evolve. And there's a lot of concern about safety. And because we know a lot more now about what injuries, can do down the road. Like, yeah, maybe you hurt your knee today and you're able to train and it's fine now. But when you're 60, it might be really weak. And so just if I had anything I'd want people to know is I think we need to look a lot farther down the road than we think. When I was a kid, I looked to 21. When I was 21, I looked to 30. When I was 30, I looked to 50. Now I'm looking to 125. And because I think that, we live to the level that we think we should be living to, or just under it. And when I was diagnosed with the prostate cancer, I really thought that I would live to be around 60.
Wow.
But I had this diagnosis at 55, and afterwards I realized I didn't have a goal with regard to how long I wanted to live. I never really thought of how long I wanted to be doing these different things. So the thing I'd like people to do is set even higher goals, higher than they think. Set goals even with regard to how long they want to live. If it's about money, make it about money way out there. I said a gazillion. How about 10 gazillion?
Yeah.
But I really think that we can achieve a lot more in our lives than we are actually doing. But we need to set goals higher in order for that to happen, because I believe that we all fall short of achieving our ultimate goals. But if our goals are low, then we're never going to really achieve a whole heck of a lot. If our goals are high, we're going to achieve a lot, but we're still going to fall short. So have some big, bodacious goals. I want to live to be 125. I want to be healthy. I want to be a great great grandfather. I want to be able to still help my community. I still want to work at helping people understand other people, and stop judging people for their religion or their color or race and those kinds of things, and just try to help everybody live comfortably on this earth.
That's beautiful. What I love most about that is not being afraid to fail. Like I like to never reach my goals, and I'll just quickly elaborate, because that could sound really weird and the opposite of mentally tough. The reason is because I set them so high that I'm happy to fail, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so high that what I do achieve is higher than if I had set a mediocre goal.
Right. That's exactly
so
what I'm
I'll take this
about.
Failure all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll live in that failure all day.
Right.
That's powerful, and that is mentally tough. So that's been great. Hang in with me for a second. I just want to let folks know that that I have within the last year I created a pretty cool thing called the Daily Dose: Mental Toughness Tidbits in 30 seconds or less. So it literally is 30 seconds or less. I time them. They're the little notes that come in your email first thing in the morning around 6 a.m. So if you're interested in getting those, in fact, I'll even read you today's. Here's an example of one. The flow state is synonymous with the term the zone. They both refer to the psychological state that we're in when we're crushing it. And I love the term flow because it's what water does in a stream. When water comes to a river rock, it doesn't arrive at it, stop and say, hey, we got a problem here. There's an obstacle. It simply flows gracefully around it without any hesitation or loss of momentum. That's the effortlessness of excellence. Be like the water today and practice flow. So that is an example of one of the nuggets that you would get. If you're interested in getting on that list, then just go to my website, christopherdoris.com, and it'll be right there on the home page. Thanks for tuning in. And if anybody watching or listening has any suggestions on folks who I could interview for the Tough Talk series, please let me know. You can email me at chris@christopherdoris.com. You don't need to be an NFL Hall of Famer. In fact, we've checked that box off now for Tough Talks for a while. So thank you, Mike Haynes. And bro, I really want to thank you so much for making time in your unbelievably busy schedule for this. This was really, really great. And I really thank you for your insights and for the way that you show up in the world. You're an inspiration.
Well, I appreciate that, Chris. And I really appreciate what you're doing and your effort to get the word out to other folks and really make a difference in our world.
Amen.
Thanks,
Mike. Thanks.